You ready to do this, Steve?
Man, I am always ready to do this thing, Spence. Punch it, Chewie.
Welcome, super friends, to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my co-pilot, as always, is Steve Madura.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you got.
We're two best friends that, despite being fathers and husbands, we just refuse to grow up. Thank you for joining us. This is episode number 51. We release every Thursday morning on iTunes, Google Music, and Stitcher. And Steve, we are officially in the last week before our 1-year anniversary. How does it feel, baby boy?
2 quarters and a penny, baby. Loving it. It's crazy, no? To think about that we've been doing this for a year. A year? Man, I didn't do anything for a year. I've barely been alive for a year. It feels good, man. I am excited. I'm stoked that we're coming in, and I hope I don't get hit by a bus tomorrow, because that would really screw things up.
Ooh, yeah, don't jinx that crap.
Yeah. I mean, both for the podcast and, of course, everything else.
No, just the podcast.
No, so I am totally stoked, and I'm happy to be here. Happy to be with you.
How has your week been?
Week has been really good, actually. We had so last year for Christmas, I thought I'd be a really thoughtful husband, and anytime I try that, it always backfires. So I tried to get a nice gift that I thought my wife would really like. And I thought, I don't want to get her things. I want to get her more experiences, right? It's kind of the shift.
Sure.
This whole shift.
Yeah.
More experiences. So I went, and there's a theater that I think I've told you about, the Marriott Lincolnshire. You've been to a few shows there,
Yep.
I think.
Yep.
Anyway, so they have this really good deal where you can get the whole season of shows at a really good price, and they throw in dinner and a stay at the resort there on site, I guess. And so I thought this would be a great gift, right? So I get this whole thing, and there were some shows that I knew, and there were other shows that I didn't, but this one particular show she really wanted to see was Newsies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which you probably know was made into a movie with Christian Bale later. I don't know, but Disney...
Every girl I ever knew loved that movie for some reason.
Well, add me to the list, big boy. Anyway, so... but long story short, I gave it to her, and after a week, she was like, you know what, Steve? I really don't want to see any of these other shows but Newsies, so do you mind if we cancel it? I'm like, ugh, my big present failed. So she's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. So I cancel it, and they don't cancel my credit card. So I don't know this for 6 months. They keep charging my credit card. So I finally call them. I'm like, hey, what happened? So they're like, well, sorry for the mix-up. We'll give you these tickets for free. So anyway, long story short, on Friday, we made good on the promise, and we went to Newsies with the whole family besides Lila, and had a great time. My middle son, Addison, was like, I don't want to go to this thing. I want to stay home. He was on the edge of his freaking seat the entire show. Right? He's like, this is great, Dad! And he's wanting to listen to the music ever since we got home, and I don't know, man. There's something about live theater. It just captures the heart and the mind.
I've been telling you about that with Hamilton, man. I've been listening to that music nonstop since we've seen that show. I can't get it out of my head.
As have I since you, and I haven't seen the show, but since you came that weekend, I'm like, this is some good stuff. Yeah. Anyway, so it was great, good show. I mean, there's backflipping, and they have a fairly small cast, but they re-costumize them throughout the show so that they use different parts, and you don't even know. And they seem like they have a much bigger cast than they actually do. But anyway, it was a great show. Had a great time. Following day, Carrie was working on some Christmas presents. She does a calendar every year for our my parents and her parents and whatnot, and it takes a lot. She does it through I don't know, Shutterfly or something like that.
Yeah, sure.
But it takes a lot. She gets all these pictures and all these different dates and everybody's birthdays. And so I let her have the entire day to go to the library and do it herself. And I had play dates for every single kid. There were 15 children running about my house. I just kept making pizza. That's all I did. Frozen pizza after we went through 7 frozen pizzas. I'm like, just keep coming in, kids. Keep coming in. It was like an assembly line at a soup kitchen.
Wow.
So I tried to be a good husband this weekend, and I hope I succeeded in some small regard. But anyway,
why did she go to the library to do it?
To get away from everyone.
Oh, okay.
peace
I
and
didn't know.
quiet.
Sure. I just didn't know if there was like something special she needed at the library, or if it was just
The Dewey Decimal System? I don't know.
right.
Anyway, so yeah.
Listen, I cannot put together a calendar unless I'm surrounded by the Dewey Decimal System. It helps my brain.
That's right. So anyway, but she got it done. She got it, and there was a sale that ended on Sunday night at midnight, and she got it done at like 11:30. So she was working pretty darn hard. So
well, good. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. So how was your week? Did you see a musical by chance?
I didn't see a musical this week. The last one I saw was Hamilton in Chicago.
Just making sure you didn't slip one in.
An excellent show. We did have, this is kind of odd, but we had Brita's Works Christmas party this last weekend, and you may be saying to yourself, November 10th seems like a little bit of an early date. But apparently, like, they usually do it like the first weekend in December. And I think like the owner was going to be like on a cruise or something. So they wanted to push it up a week. But then like that week's like Thanksgiving. So they had to push it up another week. But then that didn't work for like half the office. So they pushed it up to this last weekend. So we just had my wife's company Christmas party, but it was like a casino night. So there was like, instead of like usually we do like a big kind of sit down dinner and it's really nice, and then we do some sort of like auction for like these prizes. This year it was a casino night, and so like there was blackjack, roulette, and craps there. And we basically just sat down at a blackjack table and with some of our coworkers and just played, and the dealers didn't really care because it's not for real money. It's just for like these little tokens to try to put into like a little gift bag to like to get your name pulled out of a bag and you win a prize. So the dealer's like, yeah, he's like, you know what? If you hit this kind of a hand, if you hit like 5 cards to make your 21, he's like, you're going to get 3-1 odds, but that's the same as this other thing. So I'm going to give you 5-1 odds. And so like I started playing like the long shots, like trying to hit the 5 and 6 cards. Like they're like 2, 3, 2. It's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, hit. And I would just keep hitting. And then finally, like I would hit big on like, 10-1 odds or something. And it's like, trust me, you're not going to go to a casino and really play that style of blackjack.
Right.
But it was a company party. We had a lot of fun. And like, I ended up with like 40,000 in chips, and Brita had like 30,000 in chips. And so like we put in all these little bags, got these tokens, and we ended up winning a $50 iTunes gift card from her company.
Dude, that's not bad.
Yeah, so there was a lot of fun, but I gotta say, it was weird to have a company Christmas party on the 10th of November before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I would say that's a little.
My kids are still eating Halloween candy. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. I'm still eating Halloween candy. Let me ask you this now. For our listeners at home, what I thought this story was going to go is like that you like ran the entire table and like you like took like Brita's boss for like all his money, and you're like, well, thanks for the party, because this is a man. Listeners at home, this is a man who, when he did not have a job and was unemployed during college, he would travel out to the Salt Flats and go to a casino across the border in Utah and earn money to pay for meals through gambling. That's right.
Through Texas Hold'em poker.
It's still gambling. No. This is the craps table, Steve, not blackjack.
Okay, now I've got to set you straight though. There is a slight difference between playing a table game like roulette or craps or blackjack or pai gow or keno, because that's you're playing against the casino. You're playing against the house. Over time, you will lose, always, guaranteed. But with Texas Hold'em, you're playing against the other players at the table, that you're not playing against the house. And so there's some skill involved, and there's some math and some odds, and playing the cards and reading people, and some betting strategies. And so I can play a bit. And when I needed, when I was down on my luck and times were tough and I needed something, I had a skill that I could fall back upon that helped me through some tough times.
You couldn't just go to the plasma bank like every other college student? My gosh, man.
Dude, why would I go and give my blood for $75 when I could go sit down in a casino for a few hours?
And give my soul.
And make 1,000.
Mr. Stapleton, the usual table? Yes.
I will firmly admit, taking your little tiny pathetic paycheck that you get as a little stipend while you're injured from your company, and then having to go and triple it up on a poker table in order to pay rent and medical bills isn't probably a recommended thing to do.
Life
but it
strategy
worked for me,
from Tony Robbins. Now, didn't you take some money from your sweet boss that took you to the Dodgers game? Didn't you like go to his house and play poker and like rake him over the coals?
No.
What? Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about. No.
It's like a month ago.
I wait till we hit a casino to do that because then it's easier. So anyway, but also this weekend, I got together with my motorcycle club and we did an escape room, and we did this one. It was on a bus, and it was like all prison themed. So it was like a prison bus, and like we had to figure out like all these combinations and like puzzles and clues to try to escape off of this prison bus. And what was really cool about this was that you start in a small room, and we started handcuffed, and like we were all handcuffed, and like we had to like figure out how to get the keys to the cuffs and uncuff ourselves and figure out clues to open up a larger section of the bus in the back. But in the back section, there was another criminal, someone, that's hired that works there, and he could give us clues. But if he gave us clues or traded stuff we needed to figure out stuff, we'd have to give him like keys to unlock, so he could unlock himself from his side of the cage. And if he unlocked himself, and if he could get out and touch you, it would add 3 minutes to the clock, like take 3 minutes away from the clock, and then that person would be out. So it was this bit of like a risk of like, do we try to work with him? Do we try to, try to mess with him to get clues, or do we not? And so anyway, it was a ton of fun. It was a good like bonding brotherhood experience with the motorcycle club. All of us being kind of crammed into this prison bus and trying to like figure out
handcuffs.
clues and in handcuffs and doing all the rest.
Naked.
But no,
I'm just
man.
I'm just kidding.
Get your dirty mind and your filthy dreams out of my experience. Anyway, lots of fun. Like if you haven't done an escape room, I highly, highly, highly recommend it.
Now, was the bus moving, by the way? Was this like a speed type thing? Like, okay. This wasn't a real bus. Okay.
No, it was a real bus, and it does drive, but it was parked.
Okay.
For this event.
That sounds really cool.
Which would be really weird because I don't want to say because people that may listen may live in the area, but like if it was moving and you're trying to escape it, and when you actually get to the end where you do like hop out of the bus, 55 miles an hour, I think I'd rather just stay in and lose than lose my life. But
nice.
I opened up the new Super Mario Odyssey game for the Switch, and I played it a little bit with the boys. It's kind of a game that I've been holding off because the boys want to see me play it, and I haven't had a lot of time lately. But we got to play that a little bit over the weekend for maybe like an hour and a half, and they were loving it. Just watching Mario run around and jump and throw his little hat and, knock into Koopa shells and whatnot and get coins.
That is awesome.
A ton of fun. Like that game, I think is going to be a big game in our household for the next little while to come. So
and they're good to play it. They're good playability, and they can move around.
My boys, the game it's great. My boys are a little young still for it, so it's more just watching. But I mean, if you're like Addison, Carter would definitely be able to play a game at this level. Alana, maybe. Lila, definitely not. So.
Okay, cool. Well,
but yeah. Anyway, things are going great here, and just real going good. Had a great week, and happy to be back with you in the Fortress of Nerditude.
Let's get it on.
Okay, so Steve, before we get into Rebel Intelligence, I want to talk about next week real quickly, right up here towards the top of the podcast.
Okay.
So next week is our 1 year anniversary. And we want to do something special. We want to give you, the Super Friends, an opportunity to actually call and leave us a voicemail and wish us, happy 1 year anniversary. Tell us something funny, whatever you want to share with us. As long as it's, eligible to be played on air, we're going to play those next week. And so here is the Google Voice number that you can call and leave us a voicemail. It's 801-477-7687. So again, that Google Voice number is 801-477-7687. And I will put that on the social media. But really, we want to encourage you, super friends. This is your opportunity to call and leave us a message, congratulate us, talk to us, share something, that you've enjoyed about the podcast, or maybe even something you would like to see us do more of in the next upcoming year, whatever it may be. This is your opportunity to get on the mic and shine.
Yeah. Take the mic, man. That's exciting. I wish we had a little jingle to go along with it. Like, do 801 675. I don't know, something like that.
801-477-7687.
No,
you don't want the Empire jingle.
That is the ode to Empire. No, that the syncopation a little off. But,
sure.
Yeah, please, guys, give us a call, man. We want to hear from you, and it would be a really cool thing, a sweet gift to us to hear your dulcet tones, and to be with you at least in spirit during our 1 year anniversary, which is going to be a huge celebration. We'd love to have everybody that's commented just shout out, and we'll play it.
Yeah. Now the other thing is, we are only at 4 people that have rated us and reviewed us on iTunes, and then emailed us your address. So I'm going to let you guys know today, which I say today, but it'll be Thursday when this episode airs, will be your last chance to rate and review us on iTunes and send in your email or your address to the old email, which is fortofnerd@gmail.com, to collect Steve's cookies, to get on that cookie train and, get a little gift from us to you as a thank you for being with us for this first year. So like I said, Steve, we're only up to 4 people right now, which I'm a little surprised because we've got more reviews. We need people to do the other half, which is to email us that address.
Right. Now, to clarify, obviously, we have many more reviews on iTunes. We have 4 that have given us their addresses. So
correct.
Yes. So shout out to us, and we'll get you on the cookie train, which is different than the Oriental Express, where people die. Cookie train, good stuff, granulated sugar. Good
Yeah. Think nom 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 versus bleh.
That's right.
Just
cool. So let's get on to your favorite part of the show and mine.
Rebel Intelligence.
Rebel Intelligence. Jinx.
Okay. Dang it. You owe me a Coke.
Spence.
I always have to let you know, many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
Okay, Rebel Intelligence, we are a go. Steve, what do you have for us?
So the first thing I wanted to talk about was a little something called the Dark Universe, which is basically Universal Studios' kind of hopes for what I would call, I guess, a universe of monster-type characters that would kind of culminate into some kind of MCU-esque type of thing. And
Are you just talking about like the Universal monsters, like the Dracula and Frankenstein and those kind?
Yeah. Well, and it really kind of started with the kind of the reboot of the Mummy franchise that was planned. They also had like the Bride of Frankenstein and Wolfman and others. And what's interesting about this, though, is that they kind of had this all set up in the background. They had 2 directors, Alex Kurtzman and Chris Morgan, 2 writers and producers that were originally tapped for kind of the Universal's grand vision of this dark universe. They left the project.
Wow.
Yeah, they went on to other endeavors. Kurtzman, I think, is currently working as an executive producer on Star Trek's STD.
Uh-huh.
And then Morgan, on the other hand, has returned, and this is kind of funny. He's returned to the Fast and Furious franchise to explore the previously untold stories of Fast and Furious.
Untold stories?
Well, I'm like, what hasn't been told through 9 sequels of Fast and Furious movies that needs to be told? And is the Dark Universe that bad that he would have to go groveling back to the Fast and Furious franchise?
Well, think about it like this, though. You remember when the Brendan Fraser movies, the Mummy movies came out?
Oh, I remember.
Like, they seemed like they were pretty popular at the time, and they did well in the box office.
Yeah.
But like then it was like The Mummy Returns, and then it was like The Mummy, The Curse of Amansul, and Ka-Ra this, and blah blah, and like The Rock was in it, and like Brendan Fraser was done, and like it was like all these like spin-offs.
Oh yeah.
And I know they try to do that Tom Cruise Mummy movie. Here's the thing, like I really like the old kind of, Boris Karloff, that kind of Dracula and all that.
Yeah.
But I don't know how well those monster movies kind of play out now, because I think the theater going audience is into more special effects and splashy effects and big action stuff. I mean, they tried to do a vampire / werewolfy movie, and they came out with Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman, and that movie was just a hot pile of mess.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just garbage. And so that's the problem, is I think anything that's going to try to be in that vein with kind of those, the old Universal monsters, I don't know how they do it, that they make it scary and exciting and kind of stay true to the originals without making it into some CGI fest.
Well, I mean, I think ever since, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, everything's really gone downhill in the monster genre. Alexander
that was
Hamilton, werewolf killer. I don't know. I think, going back to some of the oldies but goodies, like, if you want a real, like, dark universe, man, go back to, like, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. That's where, like, Frankenstein comes together with Wolfman and Dracula, or the 1987 Monster Squad that I've referenced in previous podcasts,
right,
which is a fantastic movie.
With Fred Savage.
No. Again, that is not with Fred Savage.
No, it's the one with Fred Savage where he's got the horn that broke off.
That is not the same one.
The monsters live under the bed.
That's not the same movie.
And Fred Savage goes into their universe and like goes down the stairs and is in this like dark corridor, right?
Nope, not at all. That's not the same movie at all. I can't even think of the movie that is. That's like Monsters Under the Bed, Monsters. Man,
Monster Squad.
Monster Squad is a movie I'm talking about. Your movie is some other movie that I'm trying to look on IMDb. Little Monsters.
Little Monsters.
Good golly. 1989, several years layer. No, Monster Squad, great movie. So, but that
Fred Savage, he's the best.
I'll kill you. I will kill you.
Okay,
so that's going to be a hot mess, like this podcast.
Okay, so speaking of a hot mess, Twitter's kind of capped
I've heard
off
of it.
the. Yeah, it's a thing. You're not really on it, but kind of on it, and I pretend you're on it quite a lot.
There you go.
So
you ghostwrite for me.
That's right. You're not going to be happy when I ghostwrite, by the way, so don't look. Twitter's always been 140 characters. Like that was kind of what they locked in, and they've kind of talked about expanding and going more. And everyone's like revolted and like, no, don't do that, blah, blah, blah. Keep it short, because a lot of people go there to find like quick news or links to things, and people try to, get creative to get a message across in 140 characters. Right. Twitter's gone ahead and they've done some testing of a 280 character Twitter, and it's been pretty well received. And they said that they found most people at first typed a lot more, and try to use the 280 characters, but now, are kind of in some cases still under the 140, sometimes a little more. And Twitter's rolled it out, man. It's universal. Everyone has now 280 characters. And I got to tell you, Steve, like I went on from our podcast Twitter, and I put out a couple longer tweets, and it's nice to have a little bit of extra breathing room. I got to say, there's times when we try to put out a message or try to talk about something, and it's like, if only I could get like 2 more words in, I would be able to say it better, instead of like having like shorthand things or kind of chop my English up, or not have commas and periods and whatnot.
Right.
And like I just hate I don't know why, because I'm not like I'm some sort of like grammatician, but like I can't stand like when I'm typing something and it's like I need to put a comma here and then I need to put a period at the end of this sentence so they know I'm going on to a new sentence. But then I'm like, I'm 2 characters over. dang, I don't want to delete words because then it doesn't make sense at all. So then I go back and I delete like the comma and the period. And I look at that, I'm like, people are going to think I'm uneducated because I don't know how to put in a comma and a period. So now I can comma and period to my heart's delight.
So it's an interesting thing because, again, I'm not a huge Twitter guy, but the 140 was not an arbitrary choice, though it was based on the SMS limit, right, at the time for sending texts, right?
Correct. Yeah, the text limit was for 140.
So I guess my question is does that somewhat bastardize the entire essence of what Twitter is? I mean, a tweet is supposed to be short, it's supposed to be concise. Isn't that the whole kind of the brevity of it all is kind of the appeal of Twitter and tweeting?
Yeah, I'd say yes, but
it's almost kind of their shtick, right?
At the same time, I don't think though that the social platform has to be locked into that, that 140 when they can go up to 280 or 360 or whatever they'd want to do. Because seriously, think about it: 280 characters still isn't a ton. I mean, you're not going to be writing paragraphs upon paragraphs. Instead of maybe like 2-3 sentences, now you're talking like, 5-6 sentences tops. So, I mean, it's not that much more.
But again, doesn't this just become like a 1995 like AOL chat room? I mean, if it's, I don't know.
Well, Twitter has said though that in their studies, people, once they had 280, they would experiment with 280, and then eventually their tweets would drop back down closer to that 140 mark. I mean, honestly, like, I can't tell you how many times I've typed something out and I'm like, I'm 12 characters over. All I needed was 12 more characters. And then I got to figure out a way to like do, and like, I spend like 5 minutes trying to like get my tweet to get my message across under the 140, where if I just had 12 more characters, I would have typed it in a minute, done, gone, and I'm moving on with my life. So I'm all about the 280.
You're all about the 280, okay.
All about the 280, baby.
Because when I first read this on Rebel Intelligence, I was like, wait a minute, Twitter, shh. That's the sound of people who care. But no, but as somebody who does, obviously, you say it matters, and you're right. I guess I could see having to cut your sentences short or somehow not get your message across, which would be frustrating.
It's all about the 280, baby.
All right. I'm sold, man. I'm sold. You sold me. All right. I wanted to talk about something that I think is epic.
Do tell.
I mean, it's no 140 to 280 or anything, but it's something. So when Colin Trevorrow left Star Wars, fans wondered about obviously The Last Jedi and director Rian Johnson, who took his place. And he didn't. Obviously, we talked about that.
Right.
But and we talked about why we pontificated about why we thought he didn't opt to
do episode 9.
Yeah, to do episode 9, and we were both wrong.
How so, Steve?
Well, there you go. I thought you'd never ask. So he actually said no because he was working on 3 entirely new Star Wars movies that are a whole different trilogy that is not connected at all to the Skywalker legacy.
And you know how he told us about this? With 280 characters on Twitter.
He could have done it in 140.
All about that 280, baby.
So let me ask this. From somebody who is a reader of the books and a knower of Star Wars lore beyond what most people's kind of desktop knowledge is,
right?
Do you have any ideas, any thoughts as to where this is going to be coming from?
I don't know
of the universe.
I don't know where they will go. I'll tell you exactly where I want them to go. In the early 2000s, there was a game that was developed for the Xbox, and it came eventually to the PC, called Knights of the Old Republic. And the game, I think, took place like 5,000 years before the Skywalker saga that we're all used to. And at the time, like, there's the Old Republic is there. There's like these factions of Sith. There's Mandalorians. And like this video game it was a really cool video game, first off. But it had a really cool story, and it would be recognizable themes. I mean, there was, obviously there's Jedis and there's Sith, so like there's lightsabers and there's battles, but like you have, without giving too much away, because maybe this would be the direction they would go, but like you have like betrayal and, you have redemption and you have, like familiar planets, familiar scenes. It had a lot of the heart of the original trilogy. And so
Okay.
if I were to choose, I would want something like that. Like, go back in time. Don't do like the prequels did where we just go back to tell, Anakin's story.
Like origin, yeah.
Yeah, jump back further because you can do a lot more in a familiar world and people would be interested to see it. And there's some great storytelling you could do. Now, that would be my hope. That would be my prayer. That would be the fanboy in me that would go nuts. There's other books that they came out with that were really good, but the problem is a lot of the books that came out after the original trilogy focused on Han and Luke and Leia, and they came either after or they were like origin stories of Han Solo or Darth Vader, and a lot of that stuff would be it wouldn't be away from the Skywalker saga, right? So I'm hoping, my hope is the Knights of the Old Republic or something based off the Knights of the Old Republic game, which I loved and still love to this day.
Well, and I think, let's be honest, something that I think it would be nice to have something that didn't revolve or magically around, a few dozen people, right? Like, R2 and Jabba are everywhere, and Anakin building C3, but all these connections. It'd be nice just to kind of break away, like I said, a clean break from that, yet still in a world that I think is beloved to many, but to have a fresh new characters. And I know that from this article, an official statement from Kathleen Kennedy said, she said, quote, "We all loved working with Ryan on The Last Jedi. He's a creative force, pun intended, and watching him craft The Last Jedi from start to finish was one of the greatest joys of my career." So
wow.
I think there's some
now
good things
here's
to
the
be
thing
had.
though too, right? Ryan Johnson, this is going to be his first Star Wars movie.
Right?
Like, this movie better be good because they're giving him 3 other movies. If this movie doesn't do well or is reviewed poorly or they think fans think he did a crappy job directing it, I mean, he's got 3 other movies he's going to do, a whole trilogy on his own. So let's fingers crossed that this goes well.
And Miss Kennedy's greatest joys were wrapped up in a crappy film. But whatever, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see what comes. And obviously The Last Jedi is going to be, precursor to
December
what's to come.
15th, man. December 15th. Yeah.
Not too far away. Cool.
Nope, not at all. So do you remember just a little tiny mobile game called Pokemon Go?
Oh, do I ever. Almost got hit
Right?
by a Mack truck twice.
Nice. So Pokemon Go was a big, huge, success. It's put out by a company called Niantic Labs, and they've got this kind of thing down where they know how to get people out and walking around and going to these locations, where other things are going to happen. Well, Niantic Labs is coming out with a new mobile game. Now there's not a release date on this yet, but get this. It's going to be a Harry Potter themed game. And you're going to be some sort of a wizard. And
Wow.
I think you're going to be able to use your phone like a wand to do wand commands. And you're going to, I think, be maybe capturing, magical creatures. And you may be dueling other wizards. And if it's anything like Pokemon Go, because Pokemon Go was huge. And they got a lot of people into playing the game who'd never probably even heard of Pokemon or done anything with Pokemon, because I saw all these families going out with their kids and walking and using it as an excuse to get out and get exercise. Who hasn't heard of Harry Potter?
Right.
So this thing could be much, much larger than the Pokemon Go.
Oh yeah, I would say just on a fan base alone, I would be exponentially larger.
This game comes out, Steve. Do you download it on your phone and do you go out that first weekend with your kids and go walk around and have fun?
Spence, this changes the game, man. I've got to get all my kids' phones now. Good golly.
Right.
Keep this under wraps, can you?
I took the boys out with the Pokemon Go and I just would walk around, and then when I'd finally find a Pokemon, I'd stop and let them come over and throw the little Pokeballs at it to capture it. But maybe that's what you do. You just walk around and be like, oh, look, there's another wizard to duel. Here, now hold it, and swing my phone haphazardly around and drop this $1,000 piece of tech. Anyway.
Exactly. I still need to get a case for my Galaxy Edge.
Dude,
Yeah,
I told
well.
you what to... All right, we'll talk
I
after the
know.
podcast, because I dang gave you what you needed to go get, but...
Yes, I don't need to be reprimanded on the podcast, Dad. I'm just kidding.
It's
All
called
right,
the
that sounds cool.
Spigen. Spigen. It's German. It's $7. It's on Amazon. Do it. Do it now.
They are a sponsor of this podcast. Cool.
Right.
One of the things, the last thing that I had actually was the first reactions are out to Justice League.
Which comes out this weekend.
It comes out this weekend. So the reviews are mixed. You know, some people loved it. Some people were meh. And others said that it was a train wreck and very tacky and kind of in your face. So, kind of across the board, they said that, a lot of people said that Aquaman and Flash stole the show. Which you'd think that, Wonder Woman would kind of be the standout based on kind of the
Wonder
track
Woman,
record.
yeah.
But yeah, they said the Flash and Aquaman kind of steal the show. So I'll be interested to see what comes of it. Are you excited? Are you excited to see this?
I'm kind of torn. I mean, I want to see it. I think I've got a pretty busy weekend coming up. But yeah, I'm excited, but I'm not. Yeah, gosh, I don't know. This thing could be a train wreck. I'm just so scared of DC right now, personally. But anyway,
I think it's going to be kind of clunky.
Yeah,
That's
we'll
just
have to
the sense that I
see. We'll have to see what it is. Okay, so here's the last thing I have for you, Steve. We talked about this last week a little bit. We mentioned that Amazon is looking to do a Lord of the Rings TV show. And we kind of talked about, like, why would they redo the movies? Well, now Amazon has come out this week and said that they're going to do a TV show, but they're also going to it's also going to, like, feature, like, previously unexplored stories. And so in my mind, that says, okay, well, what is there left that's unexplored? Because they pretty much went through, Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, and Return of the King, the books for the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And then they did 3 movies based on The Hobbit. And so I'm thinking maybe it's going to have Tom Bombadil in it, which is a section that was cut out of the movies. Maybe it's going to pull more from the Silmarillion. I'm not exactly sure, but it's going to happen, it looks like, and the Tolkien estate is behind this thing, and they want to get that out there, and so they think a TV show would be a good place to go. Here's my thing, right? If you're going to do a TV show, you're going to do this in this world, you might not want to have Peter Jackson direct it, but don't you think you'd maybe want to get him involved? I mean...
Yeah.
I think fans would. The Tolkien estate probably... I don't know. I've heard rumors that they didn't exactly care for the movies, so they may not be Peter Jackson's biggest fans. But I would think that the fans would demand that and really want that. So, executive producer Peter Jackson sounds fine.
Yeah, just some touch point where he can have a advisory role, even just a consultant.
Right. I mean, that's
Consulting.
what I would do.
That sounds nice.
Yep. I'm just saying.
PB&J. Interesting. Now, we talked about it last week, obviously, just the entire idea of a made-for-TV movie or a series, a TV series on The Lord of the Rings is just dangerous and maybe too soon already. But again, like with some of the other things we talked about, only time will tell. So fans, let us know what you think.
And I'm going to be perfectly honest. I'm going to watch it. I mean, I'm such a fan of The Lord of the Rings. I typically read that book series. I read The Hobbit and I read all of the 3 of the Lord of the Rings books once a year. I start them on my birthday and I read them all the way through. And I've read them enough that I get through them pretty quick, but I love it. I gotta admit, I'm a fanboy, so it's gonna come on Amazon and I have an Amazon Prime subscription. I'm watching it. I hope it's good, but I'm watching it. So
is Hagrid going to be in this one? Is
Hagrid going to be in this one? Is that what you just asked me? Yes, yeah. Voldemort and Hagrid will be a part of this. Harry is going to probably be off at school, and they're definitely going to try to destroy Slimer.
Little Monsters, Fred Savage, 1989. Not Monster Squad. Just making my point. Let's move on.
Too funny. All right, well that's it. That's all I have for Rebel Intelligence. I'm tapped.
Right on time. Good.
Okay, so Steve, last week we didn't ask a question of our superfans. Instead, we asked them to ask us questions so we could answer their questions.
Which is always a dangerous thing. It's a blank check.
It can be, but I think we got some good questions this week. Okay. I'm gonna start with an email, not necessarily a question, but a follow-up from Peter Christensen. He says, "Dear nerds, just so you know, I'm available for a Thor Ragnarok movie club." So, we are going to be doing the Thor Ragnarok in 2 weeks, the week after our 1-year celebration. Peter, we will keep you in the loop. He says, "My children know that the price of Halloween is flavored Tootsie Rolls and Almond Joys." He says, "Regarding Red Sonja, I believe that filmmakers have always wanted to make good female action movies, and audiences have wanted them. But the success of Wonder Woman has created an opening where gatekeepers and studio heads are willing to allow it." Okay, it's interesting. It's probably accurate.
Yeah,
he says, "Regarding Twilight Zone, I always think of The Simpsons when Otto sees Hans Moleman driving the AMC Gremlin and pushes him off the road."
That is the exact. Oh my gosh, that is a great scene. Gremlin.
He says, "Steve, thanks for the plug. The name is Seattle Sweetness. It turns out I underestimate how much people like Peach. So, Peach. Anyway," he says, "Happy Ragnarok."
Very cool.
Thank you, Peter.
Cool.
We appreciate that.
We want some Seattle sweets. I'm talking about the preserves.
I'm talking about, that too. Fred Savage. So, let's go over to the old Twitter. And it was interesting on Twitter this week because I had a lot of people ask us questions. And then I also had Paul Calico reach out at pcalico84, and he asked me if I had seen, or if we had seen, the Thor Ragnarok, because he wanted to ask a question, and I said you hadn't seen it yet, and so we took the conversation private, and so him and I got a chance to talk back and forth, and it just had a lot of fun kind of talking about some things. So I can't wait for you to see it, so in 2 weeks we can movie club it up. Just saying, Steve.
I will get on that train.
Okay, so our first question comes from our good friend Josh Stapleton at MTTG Street Team. Bum, yeah. He says, "If the podcast ended today and you decided to do another podcast, what would it be about and who would be your co-hosts? Also, you can't pick each other."
Ooh. That's a great question. So I have two responses to that, because I've actually thought about this, and while the Fortress of Nerditude is not going anywhere, it is built on a sure foundation. I might do some other podcasts as well, some other guys. So one podcast I've been wanting to do for a long time is one that is strictly focused on just dadhood. And I've got a good friend named Brian Thibodeau, and he and I have tossed it around. He's just a creative guy, an artsy guy, and it's something that he and I have talked about a little bit, and just kind of the ups and downs, the ins and outs, the maybe tips and trades, and kind of the funny things that happen, just like thug life, dad life. So that's one that I've toyed with. But another one, I've got a buddy at work, Ed Beck. Shout out to Ed Beck. And I've always wanted to do one with him that would be more financial based. So he and I have kind of trade investing tips and trades, and I'm really interested in excited in investing.
So you want to do a podcast on insider trading, is what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. I got some insider information. I've been investing in pumpkins the whole month of October. I got a feeling they're going to peak right around January, and then bang, that's when I'll cash in. Homer J. Simpson. So anyway, I've been wanting to do a financial kind of investing, kind of for just the layman, the guy that just is kind of the common man, not getting into complex algorithms and beautiful mind type of things. But so those are the two that I would like to do.
Okay, so before I tell you the podcast that I would like to do, if I can't choose Steve, if it were going, Johnny Casino jumped in, which is at Johnny_Casino. He says, "Yes, Spencer, who would you pick to do a show with? Maybe another bald guy that likes motorcycles, maybe talk about gators." And the funny thing is that If you remember, a while back, Johnny had me on his podcast, Generational Gamers, and his normal podcasting partner, Ben, wasn't available, and so he had me on there. And the podcast is about video games, and I don't think we talked about video games in like the almost 2 hours we recorded. We talked about like family, and we talked about motorcycles, and we talked about him being down in Houston and being near Gators, and we talked about wrestling Gators, and just like it was literally Steve. It was like hanging out with you. Like it felt natural and comfortable. Like I've known Johnny my whole life, and we just riffed and like we just went for it. And it's just like wherever it went, it went there. And we were just like having a great time. At one point, like we kind of recorded when this was back in the summer, like the sun was kind of like barely peeking through this like little hole in my blinds. And so like this dot of sunlight was hitting me on the forehead. And so then I would slowly move around. So like it was on my eye, and then it was on my nose, and it was on my other eye. And like I was just trying to make Johnny laugh and break while we were recording. And then like I was making it like zoom all around my face. And anyway, it was just like dumb, stupid fun that like you can only do with a friend. So
that's awesome.
Now to answer the question,
wrestling Gators.
To answer the question, I would do a podcast about Monster Squad with Fred Savage.
I'm done. I'll overturn this table.
No, honestly, I would love to do a podcast with Johnny. I really would. Johnny Casino and I could get together and just rant and rave and have a good time. And I think it's an idea that's worth looking into. And Johnny and I have talked about it on and off. I know he's a really busy guy. I'm a really busy guy. So I don't know how that would all work. But I tell you what, if I could find a way to make something happen, I totally would do that with Johnny.
That is cool. Cool.
Also, I would have done a podcast with my brother, but he kept turning me down, saying he was too busy. Then he started a YouTube channel with his son, Raising a Gamer. Shout out to them. Jerk. So I would say my brother, but I think he's too busy again now with his YouTube channel, which you should go check out if you don't check it out.
There you go. Good question. Who is that from again?
That was from Josh. Josh asked that question.
Oh, very nice. Okay.
Yeah. Let's move on. Skinny Matt at Skinny Matt K. He says, this made me laugh pretty dang hard. He says, "Why am I a Browns fan? The Cleveland Browns, the horrible football team." And I'm gonna this because he does have a more serious question. Here's the thing: you love your team because it's your team. I love the Chicago Cubs, and I had to endure many a horrible season, a near miss, heartbreaking, heart-wrenching seasons. And eventually we got that monkey off our back, and we won last year. So stay true to the faith, brother. One day, the Browns may win, but it may be horrible.
Yeah, I have nothing about that. I mean, they have had quite a record, we'll say.
Yes,
almost like a prison inmate.
Right.
But yeah, stay true to that. Tina didn't leave Ike, and you shouldn't leave the Cleveland Browns. Right. Or maybe she did.
Yeah, she did leave Ike.
Then wise up, man. Wise up, Skinny Matt.
His serious question, he says, "I recently started a small YouTube vlog called Nintendo Memoirs. Just armed with an iPhone. Do you have any recommendations for free or very cheap editing software?" Here's the deal. I can recommend you audio editing software that's free and cheap and a lot of fun to use. It's a little program we use to edit the Fortress of Nerditude. It's called a Reaper. You can go out and get a trial subscription, and you can use it to edit. If you want to purchase it, it's like $60. It's really good, but that's just for audio. But I'm guessing with you doing a YouTube vlog, and you're on your iPhone, like you're going to need video editing capabilities. If you have a Mac, I think iMovie is a pretty standard kind of thing that you could probably use.
That's kind of the benchmark. I think the iOS benchmark there.
Right. I mean, if you're not looking to put a lot of money into it, that's probably what I'd say to look into. Obviously, if you're gonna put money into it, I mean, you can spend quite a bit of money and get into some like the Adobe products and whatnot.
Well, I think the next level beyond iMovie, I've had some friends that have used like LumaFusion. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's kind of the next level beyond what iMovie does. It's probably more I don't know, higher tech than just kind of a casual user. So it has some different efficiencies and maybe a little bit more powerful software. So
right.
That's something.
Yeah. So
but that's I think maybe $10 or $20, something like that.
Yeah, so. not too bad. Okay, it's turkey time. At Trash Turkey says, "What's the better era for music, 80s or 90s?"
80s.
Really? You're so so powerful there. That was it. Like you were just like boom, 80s.
Yeah, the 90s just kind of, I mean, the grunge and stuff like that, but it was kind of blasé. I don't know. Where the 80s, even though 80s is like a Lamborghini Countach, man, or like parachute pants, man. It was so far, like it just had such a feel and a sound and it was hair bands and craziness. I love the rock and roll from the 80s, but I also love like the Euro rock and all that. I don't know. It was so distinctive, the sound. Whereas I think of the 90s just like flannel shirts. That's what the music sounded like to me. Just a bunch of flannel shirts.
Dude.
So
you got to be careful, man. The 90s is, it's such good. See, here's the thing. Like if I break it down by like genre of music, like I think the 80s had much better pop music. I mean, Madonna, Michael Jackson. Yeah. I mean, like all the pop music I think is a lot catchier and a lot better remembered. And then obviously, like in the rock, you got all the hair metal, you got the Poisons and the Van Halens and the Aerosmiths
Def
and
Leppard,
Guns
N' Roses,
Motley Crue, all
Rat.
Yes, Scorpions, all that kind of stuff, right? But the flip side of that was like the music, music industry changed. So the 90s was like Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and Nirvana and Alice in Chains. Like those four bands that came out of that Seattle area. I mean, wow. I mean, great music. But then you get like the pop music in the 90s was either like bubblegum pop princesses, so it's kind of like the Britney Spears, the Christinas, that kind of stuff. Or it was kind of like the whiny emo kind of stuff that like kind of like ended that decade and kind of like went into the 2000s. Like the Alana.
I think there was some good hard. I think there was some good hard rock though that came out of it. Not so much like hair and poppy rock, but more like there was some great Metallica songs that were written in the 90s, man.
Right. I mean, Metallica was huge in the 90s.
Double up.
Sir Mix-a-Lot. You're like, great Metallica stuff. Double up. I ain't talking about Playboy because silicone pots are made for toys.
Burger King bathroom. That's the only part I remember from that song. Probably not even that song. Fred Savage.
I'm probably gonna say 80s music, although that's that's a coin flip because there was such a lot of music that I really enjoyed in the 90s. But I mean, that's a tough call because there's also music like Guns N' Roses was massively huge in the 90s. You got to think you Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, like November Rain and all that. But like Appetite for Destruction came out in like 1987. Mm-hmm. And that album alone was the best. I mean, it was fantastic. So it's kind of hard.
I gotta find myself a Appetite for Destruction T-shirt, man.
Ooh,
I want that. Yeah,
and you should get yourself some like ripped jeans in the knees, and then like a flannel to throw around your waist and complete the look.
Shut your mouth.
By the way, did I tell you when I came to Chicago? We didn't really have a dress code for our reunion, so I thought to be funny, like I was like, what if I came with like ripped jeans, like a Metallica t-shirt, and like a flannel like wrapped around my waist with like a chain to a wallet? I thought about doing that just for the humor, and then I thought,
yuck.
it's gonna be funny for about 3 minutes, and then I'm gonna have to wear that the rest of the night.
That's right. That's your wife talking. She's like, look, Spence, let me talk some sense into you.
Don't pee on your dad's grave. That's a bad idea.
Cap Streeter would say no. He would frown on that.
The Cap Streeter's not about that. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Adam Lenart at the Art of Adam L, which is a good friend of ours, Megadad's live podcast.
Oh, nice.
He says, this is really weird. He says, do you think at Paul Lloyd 10 wants to marry me? He keeps sending me wiener pictures online.
What?
So I don't think that he wants to marry you. I just think that he kind of, has a passing interest, Adam.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's really the commitment level. That's not saying I want a long-term commitment. When somebody emails you something like that, that's more of a kind of a wham bam, thank you, man.
Yeah, so I think he's down to clown, but I don't think that he's looking for long term.
What other egregious euphemisms can we use?
Right.
Yeah, I would say block him as a sender, I believe.
Yeah. Let's move on. Bobby Paul is our friend, the Nintendo Guru at Nintendo
BP.
Gurus. Bobby says, guys, with Justice League opening this weekend, 1, what are your predictions for how much money it earns this weekend? And 2, do you expect it to keep pushing in the direction of Wonder Woman, the direction Wonder Woman took, or was that just luck? What do you think, Steve? Money, how much is it going to open this weekend?
I would say that it probably is going to open for, I would say 67 million.
Wow. I actually think that's low. Here's the thing. I think it's going to open bigger. I think it's going to open 110 million. I think it's going to have a really big opening weekend, and then it's going to fall off. Because I think there's going to be
I don't know.
I think there's going to be a lot of fanboys that are going to go out and see it. There's going to be a lot of people are going to be hopeful, and they're going to go out and see it because they're really going to want to see the team up, and they're going to want to see things. But then if reviews are kind of all over the place, I don't think it's going to I don't think it's going to sustain numbers. So I think it has a big opening weekend. I'm going to say 110. So I guess next week we'll find out.
That's bigger than Wonder Woman's opening, though. I mean, that's pretty...
But I mean,
and Wonder Woman was ranked number 1 in like 5,000 theaters. So I don't know. We'll see.
That's true. But I mean, this has Wonder Woman, it has Batman, it has the Flash, it has Aquaman, Cyborg. I mean,
the way you say Aquaman, it's almost like you're sending some wiener pictures. Anyway, so somewhere between 67 and 110. That's our prediction.
I'm gonna say 110.
We're the bookends.
You say 67. Let's see.
Well, if this is The Price is Right, let's see who wins the Showcase Showdown, shall we, Bob Barker?
Let's just see who's closer. How about that?
No. Price is Right rules always.
Dang it.
Highest. If you go over, you
$1. No, I'm gonna stick to
what
it.
Happens.
110. Steve got 67. Okay.
What's the bet?
You
can't just say like, "Oh, I'm gonna give it." What's the bet?
That's good. Let's talk about it off the podcast because we have to come up with something. I don't got that kind of time right now to figure it out.
All right. Let's move on.
Let's see. The second part he says is, do you think it's going to push in the direction of Wonder Woman, or was Wonder Woman just luck? I don't think Wonder Woman was just luck. I think that was a very well written, well acted, well directed, amazing film. But the people that are writing that movie and directing that movie aren't writing and directing Justice League and Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad. There's not a lot of bright spots in the DCEU right now. I'm going to think that it's not going to be as good as Wonder Woman.
Yeah. I wonder almost to take back some of my comments about just the opening because again, I don't think Wonder Woman, it wasn't known before on how good it was. It was only after, a week or two in that everybody was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I think I would be very interested to see kind of the band of pricing or the kind of the weekends following Wonder Woman's opening weekend. Because I bet it was either very well sustained or even increased.
Right.
As opposed to maybe, like you said, Justice League might be a huge opening, but then, a huge chasm once
big
people
fall
think
off. Yeah.
For crap. So, yeah.
We'll have to see. Bobby, we will definitely be talking about that because I know you love the old Batman and the DC, and I'm going to see it. I know I will. Okay, Grouchy Surge. Oh, no, excuse me. Cursed Surge at @backlog_blues says...
It's changed?
If, while listening to one of your favorite podcasts, you find out that you were cursed, what steps would you take to reverse or remove the curse?
bathe in oatmeal.
Ooh, that is a known curse removal technique.
Oh, yes. All the wizards and warlocks know that.
If I found myself cursed, I think I would probably try to find the Zoltan machine and go back to it.
From Big with Fred
Yes.
Savage?
Yes. I probably would try to find whatever cursed me and beg, borrow, or steal to get the curse removed.
That's awesome.
Okay. The last one here on Twitter, the geeky nerd at dspin67 says, favorite adult holiday beverage? Me personally, I don't partake in adult beverages. It's a personal choice. I know that I have an addictive personality, and if I were to start and like it, I probably would climb into a bottle and never come out. So I don't imbibe, but I will say my favorite holiday beverage is definitely not eggnog.
Oh, come on. I already bought eggnog. And when I came
What?
home, like, my kids were like, what is that, Dad? I'm like, it's eggnog. Like, eggnog! And then people like, kids that even know came out like from open doors and windows and things like to have eggnog with us.
Wow.
That's how big it is. Yeah.
Stovetop at 7? Stovetop at 8?
That's right. We weren't even at a casino Halloween holiday party.
Halloween party. Okay, his other question, he says, is Turkey Day this year, fried turkey, oven, or no turkey?
Not fried turkey, because that sounds unhealthy. We'll definitely have turkey. We're going to have turkey at our house, at my in-laws' house. We're going to my in-laws. We kind of invited ourselves over because all we have to do is bring rolls, which is very convenient.
Nice.
And, yeah. So, no, they always do a beautiful turkey, so I'm excited for it.
So we're definitely doing turkey. I've had fried turkey before. Fried turkey actually is really yummy. It's delicious. But we're going over to the Nodal Patses for Thanksgiving this year. So originally I thought we were going to have to fly to Norway, but then I guess Mr. Nodal Pats is now in Australia the last time we talked to him. So we're going to the Nodal Patses for Thanksgiving, and we're having turkey, and it will be done in the oven. But let me tell you, my wife, Brita, she does this mean like brine on a turkey where she like brines it for like 2 days in advance with like all these like spices like coriander and thyme and rosemary. And when she cooks that dang thing, it is juicy and moist and has this delicious flavor to it. So, I mean, I'm excited to go to the Nodal Patses, but I'm a little sad that we're not cooking the bird because it's delicious.
Okay. I've never had a brined bird before, but it sounds delicious.
It is good. Steve, I do have 2 more quick things on Twitter, then we'll jump over to Facebook for the last question. Paul Calico at pcalico84 obviously is listening back to the old episodes, and he says his favorite Super Bowl commercial would have to be the football playing horses kicking the field goal. That was from episode number 11, a little ways back. And then he also says, so he must have listened to episode 12, Talk Nerdy to Me, because he says, dang, y'all's marriage proposals were freaking awesome. I went out of town for a week to Grandma's house and asked her for the ring my granddad gave her. So when I got home, she was on the porch and I just did it right there and then.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's old school. I like it.
I mean, right? That's still cool, man. I like that. Carrying on like a piece of family history.
Yeah, my grandpappy killed a man for this ring. She's like, thank you.
Right.
And I'd kill for you. Want to marry me?
So
that's awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, so let's move over to Facebook. Caleb Albers says, I've thought about this one for a bit, so I hope you're prepared for it. Growing up, how did you find your love for the nerdier things in life was perceived, or how did you find your love of the nerdier things in life was perceived by your family and friends? And how did that love evolve from when it was just you and your spouse to how it is now with you and your kids? So I'll start there and then we'll kind of go on. So, Steve, how did your family perceive your love of nerdier things in life?
I mean, I think they've always known that I was just kind of fun and quirky and all the rest. And I always tell them, I'm like, Maduras are an odd bunch. But I think they embraced it. I mean, they embraced me doing this show, and I don't know. It's never been. It's just always been a kind of a thing. Like
right.
But I don't know. But I'm But I like a lot of, I guess, non-nerdy things too. So I kind of dip my feet in both worlds. So
There are many worlds, right?
Many worlds.
You take the multiverse approach towards your interests.
Right.
Which I got really nerdy to talk about that.
Right. I have several portals in which no.
Yeah. So, I mean, I grew up in a household where, like, my dad was into, like, sci-fi stuff. So, like, he used to watch the original Star Trek, and then he watched Next Generation. And, like, so, like, my dad was into Star Trek stuff, and it was into Star Wars. Like, it was on in the house. And so I definitely kind of picked up on that as a young kid. And so, like, my dad was all in. I remember at Christmas, my dad bought me a Mr. Data t-shirt from the Next Generation as a Christmas present. And, like, I got pictures on Christmas Day of wearing that shirt, and I think I wore that shirt for like 3 weeks straight. Dad was in, like, he was into that. Like, when Star Trek Generations came out, I remember we went to the theater together to see it. And there was these two women dressed as Klingons. He's like, Spence, we got to go get a picture with them. It's like, we went over and took a Polaroid picture with these two women dressed up as Klingons. And my, dad was just all over it. So, like, I grew up in a very kind of like supportive household of like sci-fi and nerd and, like, that kind of stuff. But then going back to Caleb, he says, I ask this because in my life, my love for all things nerdy is really looked down on in my family. And I was wondering if you guys had similar experience or an even better one. So, here's the thing, like, I've tried to put this into words before, like, everyone has their thing, right? So whether that's like, like maybe it's football for someone and, like, they're really into football and they watch football on Sundays and they play fantasy football. And it's like, they're playing a video game. I mean, they're not directly playing it, but, like, fantasy football is like a video game of sorts. You are kind of role playing like Dungeons and Dragons almost, because you pick a character and, like, that character's stats translate over into stats for you, and you get points based on it, and you're competing against other people, and so, like, or maybe sometimes cooperative. Like, everyone has something that they're into, and everyone gets nerdy for something. It's just unfortunate sometimes, I think, when people look down upon others and, like, oh, you're into Star Trek. I'm sorry, I'm a Star Wars kind of guy. And it causes like these things, but nerdy stuff, pop culture kind of stuff, obviously isn't for everyone. Everyone's got, their own interests, but I think we're in a day and age where, like, we should be able to just say, hey, I'm not into that, but, like, I can see the merits and, maybe see why you're into it, good on you. And, just kind of support people in that way, but not necessarily have to be, like, super involved in it. Right.
Well, and I think we've talked about way early on that, back in the day, like, nerd had a negative connotation.
Right.
But the fact is that, like, in this day and age, like, Google and Apple and Microsoft are run by, I guess, what would be perceived as nerds. Some of the most powerful and wealthy people in the world are not athletes. They're not jocks. They're not musicians. They are nerds. Bezos. I mean, let's talk, Elon Musk.
Right.
These are guys that are thinking beyond that. Yeah, are into things that may have one time been a little taboo, but ultimately just, be what you're into, and who cares, throw caution to the wind. If you like something, like it for you, and to heck with everybody else.
Right. Absolutely. Steve, Caleb wants to know, is there a movie or entertainment outlet, like a comic book show, game, or anything from nerd culture that guided you into the career that you are in today? For me, that's an easy answer. No, not really. I mean, I kind of backed into a career in IT. It's not what I set out to do. I wanted to be an astronaut or a professional wrestler when I was a kid. And And I think I probably would have gone by like Fred Kid Savage. That would have been my name.
I bet it would.
But like, no, nothing really kind of guided me into the career that I'm in. But obviously, like things, like watching the Star Wars movies, had a big impact upon my life and really kind of got me into a love of space and exploration. So much that like I really dig that kind of stuff, and I get into that. And I went to space camp when I was in 5th grade. I have a love of that, but that came off of Star Wars movies. It really did.
Yeah, I mean, my original kind of career was in advertising and marketing. Not that was related to anything in nerd and pop culture, but I guess pop culture. Yeah, I mean, I loved TV, I loved movies, I loved the visual medium that was, and so I always had a dream of making commercials of just doing that. So I guess that was somewhat tied to that. Now, obviously, I'm in corporate real estate now. But that was kind of the beginning of my career. So, I'd say a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Last part of the question. This is a multi-part. He says, if you could see a fight between any Marvel and DC villains, what would they be? And for me, this is kind of an easy one. I think I would like to see, maybe like Loki go head to head with like Lex Luthor, right? Because they're kind of smart, they're kind of plotting, and they're gonna try to outmaneuver one another. It would be like a lot of mind games and trickery. I think a crossover of Loki and Lex Luthor would be kind of cool.
Very interesting. I would always I've always wanted to see, and this isn't really villains per se, but no, this is like the opposite. But I've always wanted to see like Dumbledore versus Gandalf. Huh? There'd be some good fighting, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, but that's more on the good side. On the villains,
like Joker, Magneto, or like because it's kind of a weird thing to think about, like DC villain versus a Marvel villain.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to get back to you on that. I don't know.
I'd like to see some DC villains fight DC villains. I want to see the Riddler and the Joker go at it.
I want to see Ursula Kitt's Catwoman go against Halle Berry's Catwoman.
There you go.
Just like a slap down ghetto match, like slap, pulling hair and all that. That'd be great.
Too funny. Well, you know what, super friends. Sorry. Thank you so much for your questions for us this week. We really do enjoy listening to your take on things and then being able to answer that. So Steve, our super friends are out there. They're asking us questions. They're interacting with us. How can they help us find more super friends?
They can hit up iTunes. So the Fortress of Nerditude is not as hard to find as a gift-wrapped package of delicious Madura cookies from the La Casa de Madura that could be at your door for just one simple review and a 5-star rating.
And an email address.
Oh yes. We need to know where you live, where you sleep, so we can see what we're looking at. Spending cookies too.
Yes.
Stalker.
Okay, so Steve, there was something you and I kind of talked about off the podcast quite a bit that we thought might be a good opportunity to talk about some this week. But it is kind of a sensitive topic, and so we're not going to get into details.
It is.
But we think it's something we probably should address and should talk about.
Yeah, and this is something that, obviously this podcast is about pop culture, and this is definitely a timely topic in the world of Hollywood. But again, as we've said many times, we want to keep this light and fun. However, we also, have a voice, maybe a small voice, but a voice nonetheless, and didn't want to turn a blind eye. And that was really kind of what has become a much bigger story, I guess, in Hollywood and in the world of entertainment and media, and that is just kind of the sexual harassment allegations that have come out recently, and I guess the number of people, the sheer number of people that have continued to be added to the list.
It's overwhelming.
I mean, every day. And in fact, what's kind of interesting is and sad to say, but as you were talking about somebody from we were talking about Big, and I was like, I'm thinking to myself, was Fred Savage actually in Big? I had to go like to IMDb and find out.
Yeah.
He was not in Big. But as I went there, there was a woman that was in Big. She was the female star. Her name was Elizabeth Perkins, and she was she was the love interest of Tom Hanks.
Right.
And right when I clicked on her picture, this thing came up that she was in a march, a Me Too march, yesterday, and she named James Wood, who is an actor that's been in a bunch of different things, as having had a not so good experience with him back in like 2000, whenever. And it's just, again, these names are being added to the list. Kevin Spacey was recently named by someone.
Let's go back for a second. Like you said, a Me Too rally. Explain maybe to some of our super friends what the Me Too thing is and kind of where it started if they don't know.
Yeah, so I think to back up, obviously, this really all started with the naming of now I'm forgetting his
Harvey
name.
Weinstein.
Harvey Weinstein, there you go, where a number of women, I think 4 or 5, came out in a New York Times post or an article that came out that named him as having sexually harassed them at some point in their career.
And wasn't it Rose McGowan, I think, was the first one to really come out and be like very public and vocal about it?
She was the first, and I think when she came out, I seem to remember that there were like 4 or 5 that came out kind of with her. But yeah, she was the first, and since then, that's really kind of been the stone that has broken away and began rolling down the hill, and so the Me Too movement is really the opportunity for other women that have had similar experiences to come out and to speak about what happened to them, and again, Spencer and I just thought that it made responsible sense just to talk about this, and one of the things that we talked about last night was Louis C.K., which has been kind of more of a recent development in this ever developing story about a significant number of women that have had experiences with him, and I don't want to get into the details of it, but what's interesting about that story specifically is that this was something that had apparently been going on for like a number of years in the comedy world, which, having just had a podcast dedicated to comedians, and I think he was named as, several listeners' favorite comedian. I thought it was just timely as well to talk about that, and it's affecting a lot of people.
What's really interesting to me, and I say interesting, but I'm going to also say sad, is like, when the whole thing about the Harvey Weinstein broke, it's one of these things where like you see this a lot. Like one person comes forward, 2 people come forward, and people go, "Okay, well, we're gonna want to take what they say, seriously," but you kind of wonder, what's there? There's a lot of smoke. Is there really a fire? But then, like all of a sudden, like this whole movement, the hashtag Me Too and whatnot, which has got kind of the ball rolling, and mostly women. It's not all women. There's been plenty of men too, but women have felt empowered and emboldened to speak up about these things that have happened to them. And I'm glad that they are, right? Because these are our sisters and our mothers and our wives. And we want them to feel safe, and we want them to be able to speak out against these sort of things. But all of a sudden, like, then you start seeing like the sheer numbers of people, like obviously with Harvey Weinstein, like the numbers of people just like continue to like grow and grow, and like big actresses and big actors. But what's really sad is that you start hearing people say, "I knew about stuff that was going on and I didn't say anything." That to me is the saddest part of all of this. I mean, it's sad. It's sad, and it's horrible that any of these women or any of these men have been treated in such a horrid way by someone who obviously is in a position of power and can wield that power and, use that to kind of help keep them silent. But the people that like knew about stuff or saw things and then didn't say anything, like, that's just sad because, there's an opportunity to own it and to stop future events from happening, right?
Yeah, and talking about just Weinstein specifically, I think there have been now like some 65 different women that have come forward, and like Spencer said, these are not not that anyone's a small name, but there are significant actresses that Gwyneth Paltrow was among, Ashley Judd,
Julia Roberts, Kate Beckinsale,
Angelina Jolie.
Yep.
I mean, it's and so you have to imagine, which is sad because you have to imagine that these people have interacted with one another. Maybe they all suffered in silence. Maybe they knew about it. I mean, maybe you don't know, but sad that even gosh, Angelina Jolie, Julia Roberts, you don't get much more powerful than that, and yet they felt powerless. There was an article that I read that said as a female comedian, this was someone speaking against Louis C.K., said, when as a female comedian, all of your power dissipates when you leave that stage and you are left to be a vulnerable woman when you get off that stage. And whether, just in Hollywood or in the comedy industry or whatever, that some of these things, like Spencer said, were silent or were made to be silent. And there were many people, speaking specifically about the Louis C.K. thing, Jon Stewart and some others that were asked specifically, 2-3 years ago, 2005, 2014 or 15, about this exact incident. And they brushed it off or they denied it or they changed the subject or whatever. And you think like, that is sickening. And who is the actor? Who's the comedian that was in 30 Rock? He's got the long hair, he's the funny guy.
Oh, Judah Freelander?
Judah Freelander, yeah. So he actually was quoted saying, when he was asked kind of indirectly about this, and he was like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. He's like, and that guy, he's always been a D to me. And I mean, he was straight up about it and said, I think what's going on is wrong. And he was one of the few people that actually was open, fairly, as open as he could be about it. But that a lot of people were threatened by, the people that represented these powerful individuals to say, look, don't say anything.
Well, you got to remember, like, it was a comedian that, like, outed Cosby, right? About all this kind of stuff that, like, kind of was kept quiet, that no one was talking about, all the allegations against Bill Cosby. And he started bringing it up and talking about it. I was like, no, go look it up, Google it. And eventually, people did go out and Google it. And, that's, then people felt open enough that they could talk about that, and the ball started rolling there. But I mean, like, this is just shocking to me to, like, I understand the world in which we live in. Like, I understand that people in positions of power will abuse that. And in Hollywood, you've got a lot of young, stars and young starlets that are trying to make a name for themselves and probably who feel like they've kind of got to go along with what's ever happening because they want their dreams and they want to achieve their careers and have all the things they want. But at what cost, that they've got to go through some of these things and like be silent and live with that. Like, I can't imagine that kind of pain that they're going through and continuing to go through over a long period of time.
Yeah, it is, and it would be one thing again if it was one person against another person that but the sheer volume of people, I mean, it's just it really does blow my mind, and it is sad in this day and age. We think so often. I think like, oh, civil rights, this and that. Oh, that was the 60s, Martin Luther King, all that. It is alive and well, and not feminism, sexism and all the rest. I am very ashamed to admit that it's so much out of my thought, maybe out of my mind, maybe just because I'm a white male, I don't know, but to see things like this, it is so eye-opening to say we have a long way to go.
Yeah.
We have a long way to go.
I'm sickened and I'm disgusted by hearing all this, but like, there's been a few things like I've heard, like, Kevin Spacey obviously has been accused of some sexual harassment and some misdeeds, and Kevin Spacey
with Anthony Rapp, I think.
Yeah. So who was I think like 14 at the time as this young man, and
right.
Kevin Spacey kind of came out and instead of apologizing per se, he kind of deflected and said, "Well, listen, I'm gay," and kind of tried to use like his coming out as kind of a way to like maybe defend his actions. And I know that that community has long fought the perception that just because you're a homosexual doesn't mean you're a pedophile. And now here's a well-known actor who's now coming out as a way, I'm not saying he's coming out as a way to, but it's just coincidentally timed that he's coming out and saying, "Hey, I'm gay," when he's being accused of sexual harassment. And so that's, once again, everything that he's done, is horrible. But at the same time, like he's only making things worse by trying to use that as a defense. I must admit, like Louis C.K., it's just interesting. Like Louis C.K. admitted to what he's being accused of, and the typical thing is deny, lie, say that try to discredit the people that are accusing these individuals, and take your chances that something doesn't happen or doesn't go to court or you don't get tried, whatever. But I mean, there's lots of people. I mean, just recently the showrunner for like The Flash and Supergirl has been suspended or fired because there's some things that are coming out about him. I think his name is Andrew Kreisberg. Like I'm really, obviously we know that Weinstein was let go from the Weinstein Company, and like Kevin Spacey's being replaced from a movie that's coming out. But my hope in all of this is twofold. One, by shedding a light on this issue, that it will change the attitudes and behaviors of people and keep people more vigilant so that this cannot continue. Two, my hope is that in Hollywood, and it's not just Hollywood, because like there's people in the video game industry that have been accused of this. I mean, you'll hear it in sports. I mean, politics. I mean, obviously there's a guy running for the Senate that's being accused of like dating teenagers back in the day and whatnot. And so like, my hope is that we as a society hold ourselves and hold our peers to a higher standard, and that we can improve and grow and learn from what's going on and move forward in a healthy manner. And for those that have been victims, get them help and get them what they need to cope and to get help and to move forward.
Yeah. And I would say as well to look introspectively as well, and to make sure that we are ever vigilant with our own conduct, to make sure that there's nothing that we would ever do or say in the workplace or in at work or at play to make someone else feel uncomfortable. Because it's not just these kind of heinous crimes and these accusations, but even a joke, could really ostracize someone and make them feel uncomfortable. So again, we didn't want to turn a blind eye and wanted to make sure this was kind of talked about. But again, there are so many good people in Hollywood, so many good people doing so many good things, and a lot of talented people. And so just be good to each other, I guess is the takeaway from this. So so with that, I thought we would talk about kind of the runway for our 50-second show, and talk a little bit about what we were really going to ask of our super friends, which, by the way, as just kind of a going back a little bit in the show, thank you so much for everybody that responded. I really do love, and we've only done it a handful of times, but asked our super friends kind of just ask us questions. And I think that it always comes with just some great conversations and keeps us on our toes and makes me think. So thank you for responding. And we're going to ask of you again, yet again, as Spencer's already talked about, with our Google number. We hope that you guys will take to the phones and give us some good messages.
801-477-7687.
Make it into a rap or something like that. That'd be sweet.
Yo, 801-477-7687. You want to get your call on? You got to dial the number, yo.
I thought you were going to go to like heaven or 11 or some kind of rhyme, but whatever, it's fine. Yeah. So what I thought, and Spencer and I talked about this, what we thought we would do is we would ask you again, something to join in our year celebration. Something, so this is obviously a milestone for us. This has been a bucket list of ours, and we've made it a year, and we're gonna make it many more. But we thought we would share in something that has been big, a big milestone in your life. Whether that be, it doesn't have to be a year mark or whatever, but something big that's happened. Now, Spencer and I, we've talked about some of the people that have written in or that have responded to some of our questions along this journey of a year. One such a guy that talked about during our discussion of comedians that said his wife, just got a gig, her first gig as a stand-up comedian. I'd love to find out how that went. Maybe somebody's having a baby, somebody just hit their 1 year anniversary, right, or their 50th anniversary, whatever. So the question of the week this week is really, what is something that's happened in your life that's been a milestone that we can celebrate with you? We want to celebrate together.
Yes. Like I said, we've been doing this. Next week will be a full year, and we're looking forward to celebrating and having a good time. And Steve's looking forward to making those cookies and sending them out in the mail. But we want to hear what has happened for you. What has made your life extra joyful, or what's something that's happened to you? So you guys can always let us know on Twitter, which is @FordofNerd, or Facebook, which is facebook.com/FordofNerd, or a long form answer, which is fordofnerd@gmail.com, or for the special episode of the 1 year, you can call us and leave us a voicemail as well, and that's 801-477-7687.
We are so white.
But anyway, that'll be next week. We're looking forward to it. We're gonna have a good time, and like I said, call the number. Leave us some congratulations messages or whatever you feel you want to, or you can also use the phone number and let us know what are some big milestones you've had this year in your life. And Super Friends, we will be back next week, and we will celebrate with you our 1 year anniversary.
May the force be with you always.